Hello everybody, welcome back. Let's have a look at Bitcoin. Just going to focus on Bitcoin on this video, and it's a bit more of I suppose a recap of what happened yesterday. So Elon Musk dumped the price, and since then it's not actually caused a lower low yet, technically. It was very, very close. If you have a look at the two candle bodies, we had these down here, that's the low. We're talking candle bodies, not wicks. Wicks don't count for me. And they shouldn't count, actually, and they don't count. So it's all about candle bodies. So yeah, the lower low was here, and we just narrowly avoid that. So far, we've narrowly avoided it. So what we're looking to do now is, I suppose, find hopefully a bounce, probably up to maybe, if we're lucky, above 53,500. We're talking about the 10 exponential. Really, I would expect to see as a rejection at the first pass. Now we could become, this could be a bit more aggressive, but still 53,500 as of today, to a maximum of around 55,000. That around those areas. So we could call it 54,000, couldn't we, I suppose? But it's a large area, you know, for, you know, monetary value. But as far as percent's concerned, it's not really a great deal. It's not really a great deal at all. But what we're really looking for now is are we going to get rejected from these areas and then go on to make a lower low? That would be a downtrend. And so this is the daily that we're referring to. And one other thing to bear in mind is what we're looking at here on this daily. I suppose it's a bit noisy here, so we'll take off some of these that we don't really need, just so we can get a bit of clarity on this chart. We don't need half of this stuff really, to be honest. So that'll do for now. So what we're seeing is a break out and down, a break out and down, up and down, up and down of moving averages. And when you see that kind of behaviour, it's generally known as an accumulation phase. And what it refers to, you know, the way that I would choose to play it is that if we are in a bull market, which we are most likely still in, you reaccumulate at kind of rough areas, because the target would be a launch up and above into a higher zone. So that's generally the way I would choose to view this. And I said that this kind of, it's not the same formation, but this kind of behaviour reminds me a little bit of the behaviour down here, when we tried to, and on a couple of occasions failed to break above 20,000, right? So feels like a long time ago. Let's bring it to the log scale, might be a bit easier to see. We'll have to zoom right in really to see it. And so back here, you know, 20,000 was a big deal, and we'd had a nice big continuation run for quite a while, very significant. 10 exponential, bang, 10, 10, bang, 10, bang, 10, bang, 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 10, bang, bang. Very, very, it was perfect rhythm to the whole thing. And suddenly we basically got front run of the 20,000 and had a horrendous collapse. Now this 20,000 could be seen as the what is currently the $60,000 top. You know, which is a top. It's also a flat figure. You know how people behave. They like round numbers. $60,000 is a very round number. And, you know, and there was also this fear back in this stage, which was, oh God, $20,000. I remember that. I remember what that was like over here. It was a bad deal. It was pretty bad when we got to $20,000 before. There was a lot of fear in the market for obvious reasons, and that's fair enough. It was obvious to be a little afraid. I've lost my place now. Where are we? And so yeah, it's kind of the same deal. A lot of people calling for the top. You know, some people talking about the pie indicator told us that it was the top, and other people saying that, oh, that, you know, this, that, and the other financial crisis. Oh my God! Look. Yeah, it's fair enough to bring all of these things to the table. If you're looking to make an informed decision, you need information to be informed. So, you know, you can pick as much and digest as much information as possible to try and get the best outcome. At the end of the day, when it comes to, honestly, when it really does come to trading, sometimes the simplest view is the best view, and the simplest view is, psychologically, I feel as though we're in the same situation as this. This scared a lot of people out. It was essentially a liquidity grab. you know, breaking down significantly very fast from a previous very significant top area from 2017. Came to revisit it, couldn't quite make it either, scaring a lot more people out. Okay, $20,000 might be the top for Bitcoin. This might even be it. It might never get above $20,000 until then suddenly we go on for another rally, a big rally that basically doubles the value of Bitcoin. And then a nice consolidation after then. That was driven by the fact that it was pretty high on this money flow index read. It was definitely higher. If we look at it on the weekly, it was a lot higher. Oh dear, the logarithmic scales on the weekly looks very strange. Yeah, over here, very high reading. In fact, it was at this point where I started to feel that something was going to change, and it did, and it corresponded to the alt season and this, that, and the other. So, yeah, that. Just a brief recap as to what's been going on. Now, if we also look at this money flow index, we have bounce, 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 and then now we're a little tagging a little bit below it. That's not the end of the world. We can come down. This is a multi. Well, I mean, it's I suppose we're getting on for a 2-year trend line going on here. It's getting quite close to it, and it's on a weekly, so you're never going to get the perfect read on it, but it generally has rhythm to it. If we tag a little bit further down there and maybe even test it as a resistance, then that might be an indicator that suggests that we are close, if not at a top for the moment. It would be a big change of behaviour for me, I would have to say. So, we're not there yet, and what we're looking at now is a possible bounce still on this money flow index on the weekly, a psychological top of 60,000. Very much the same kind of thing, like I say, with the $20,000 area that we fought around. Not particularly. Well, we're not overbought territory. If anything, money's coming out of the asset, trickling out, and I think a lot of that is going into altcoins. Clearly, it is. Now that we see that Ethereum is essentially half the market cap of Bitcoin, and plus all the others. Doji, I can't imagine what it would be now, but it's ridiculous the amount of money that's gone into altcoins, while Bitcoin has managed to sustain a rough area. Yeah, I really don't think that this is the end of the market. The market seems relatively healthy as a whole, and that's how we have to look at it. We have to look at the market as a whole. You know, I talk about these rotations from altcoins to Bitcoin, from Bitcoin to altcoins, and top caps to small caps to micro, blah, 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 blah. It's all part and parcel of the overall market. So to look at one chart, it can be quite deceptive. And if you think about the way that it's behaving now, and the way that altcoins have been continuing to make higher highs, whereas Bitcoin basically peaked a couple of months ago, really, it looks here now. So this is a weekly chart. So yeah, it was a while back now that we did peak. We had another run over here. So it's been a while now since Bitcoin has had a peak, but altcoins generally seem to be running. Normally what would happen is that the rotation would end and go into Bitcoin, and I think that this is, and I've been saying it for a little while now, I think that this might actually be the case some point soon. Now, you can't put a time on when that would actually happen. You can't, but the way that it happened previously, when Bitcoin was at an absolute peak and altcoins were absolutely on the floor, it seemed to be pretty obvious that you were going to get way more better value for money as far as your gains are concerned if you were to flip from Bitcoin to altcoins around this level when the money flow index was at a peak and altcoins were literally on the ground, you know, suffering, you know, grappling for any kind of value. It was significantly oversold. That, again, you know, we did that on this channel, and we've been doing that ever since, and it's been pretty good. Most of us, you know, I can't speak for most people, but I mean, I know for a fact that people in my Telegram chat and people who watch the videos and stuff, I know for a fact that they've been doing extremely well because, you know, the signals were pretty obvious, and some of these coins that we've been trading since then have done 20 or 30x or more. So when does the party end is the question, and the party, like I say, could end in two ways. That this Bitcoin will give up because the market cap for Bitcoin and the value of Bitcoin is being drained out of it. It'll get to a point where it just can't take any more. That's basically what was going on here. You know, altcoins were rallying while Bitcoin was going down. Money was leaving Bitcoin, but it wasn't leaving to people's bank accounts. It was going into altcoins. The same thing is still going on at the moment. Altcoins are they're not struggling. They're still doing okay overall. I mean, we're still trading a lot of altcoins on this channel and with the Patreon guys and stuff like that. But it's not as easy, or it's not as continuous as it used to be. It used to be the case that you can more or less just buy anything and it just goes straight up. Whereas now, some things are definitely way overheated and are correcting for a prolonged period of time, suggesting that they are basically overbought, and you know, it's time for maybe a rotation to kick in. So, I'm not here to predict anything specific, but if we're thinking about the way that Bitcoin is behaving right now, it's come down to the 20 weekly. This is usually an area which a lot of people would feel is significant. We came down to the 20 weekly and the 21 weekly moving average, the EMA that would be. And we've tagged both of those, and so far so good. We're holding above them, and we've not on the daily made a lower low yet. So, when something becomes oversold, it becomes more enticing, especially to people like me. Don't really want to be buying anything that's overbought. If anything, you want to be buying something that's oversold. And Bitcoin isn't technically oversold, but if there is an area for a bounce, it would be here, which is why I said the first opportunity to buy would be here. If it breaks down further, we've got here, then we've also got here. So there is plenty more downside for Bitcoin to be for Bitcoin to have, definitely. And I'm not saying that this is where we're going to bounce and that the rotation is going to kick in immediately. I just feel as though there is a rotation on the cards, especially when you look at things like Ethereum. We can get that up now, actually, just to give you an idea. I know Ethereum had a big pullback, and obviously things can always go higher, and they probably will, because that's the nature of the market. It continuously overreaching. But we had a money flow index read of 94, which is pretty high on the daily, marking more or less where the top is going to be. 3 days in a row where we couldn't really muster up the strength to break above that level, only for a little piece of time, and then came back down with the rest of the market. Look, you know, this can run harder, definitely. On the weekly, it's not overbought, or it's not signaling any kind of significant toppy area, not yet. But it probably will soon. And I think that would likely mark the top for altcoins and for the rotation into Bitcoin. So, long story short, altcoins still have a bit further to run. They can push Bitcoin deeper into the ground easily. And this is my preferred way of looking at it. Obviously, every time Bitcoin comes down, the market comes down with it. And this is something we've been saying since January. Use Bitcoin as your indicator to trade these altcoins. If Bitcoin looks like it's going to come down, take profit, get ready to buy the dip of the altcoin of choice, the one that you've been trading, the one that you've got your entry points and your sights on. And then buy that dip, and that strategy has worked so well for 5 months, 4.5 months now, and this is how we've managed to do, you know, such amazing things recently. That might be changing soon, but for the moment, the damage is being felt by Bitcoin. It's suffering as its market cap decreases and moves into altcoins, especially things like Ethereum. So all eyes for me are going to be on the way that Ethereum's behaving. If Ethereum's marking a specific top, especially on the weekly, that would suggest that it is overbought and it's had enough, can't go any higher. And then the rotation is likely to kick into Bitcoin. And Bitcoin could be here, it could be here, it could be here. But when the final rotation kicks in, Bitcoin is likely to launch all the way up to around about here. $100,000 is my overall target, give or take, but it's difficult to put a figure on something like this. What we're thinking about is the way that this rotation takes place, and this has been a fair old ride now, much longer than I expected for this alt season. Like I say, 4.5 months worth of alt season. I mean, that's the sort of thing dreams are made of. Can't say we've ever had an alt season quite so significant. You know, we should count ourselves lucky, especially the ones who watch this channel or in my Telegram, and you know, because we more or less predicted it back in November that it would take place in mid to late January, and we nailed it, and we scaled in appropriately, and that's how people make the 10, 20, 30 X's. So like I say, we're going to watch Bitcoin. We're going to, in a way, be excited if it keeps taking legs down, especially if Ethereum and all the other altcoins remain strong after those dips, because it would mean that the rotation is getting closer and closer and closer to it, as Bitcoin looks more and more oversold every day, definitely. But I am not looking for a giant correction or the end of the market or Bitcoin going to zero. You can tweet what you like, you can say what you want, you can see things on the news, and basically it's all about the analysis, and the analysis remains the same. Yeah, you could buy Bitcoin here and you would probably double your money by the end of the year. That might seem small fry to a lot of people, but how many things could you think about buying? You know, how many investments in the world has there ever been which is not guaranteed, but a strong chance of doubling your money in the space of 5 or 6, 7 months? Not many, not many. I think that part of the problem with crypto is that people are so greedy, and you know, doubling your money is not enough for people anymore. Neither is tripling it or quadrupling it. Everybody needs to 1,000% or more than that. Yeah, everybody's looking at things the wrong way, and it's the greed. I have to say, it is the greed which is going to come back to bite you. Chasing you're chasing the wrong thing. What you need to think about is, you know, I'm not the greatest chess player in the world, but I understand the concept is that if you want to win the game of chess, you have to think more than one step ahead of what move you're going to do. And this is, you know, I've been thinking this way for a little while now, that Bitcoin is the one that is going to end up taking the lead. And you know, we've seen what happens when alts rally and Bitcoin goes down. I mean, that will, the inverse of that will be way more powerful, and alts will significantly get hit if Bitcoin decides to rally on the back of a rotation, not because of institutions and new money, but on the back of a rotation. When money leaves altcoins go down hard, really hard. So keep an eye on those money flow indexes on the daily, especially on the weekly, on whatever it is that you're trading. That's all I would have to say about it. But again, we're doing the live stream tonight for Patreon members. If you're not a member, you can sign up, £7.50 a month. You get 2 live streams a week. We look at lots and lots of altcoins, and I bet you that we will look at lots of them tonight, and we will be able to tick off on a list which is overheated, which is overheated, which is overheated. And I bet you there's a very large portion of the ones that we look at tonight which are overheated. And that would suggest that they probably have had enough now. And we're getting closer to that full rotation back into Bitcoin. But that doesn't mean I'm suggesting buy Bitcoin right now. Like I said, I've got targets all the way down at 28,000. You know, I've planned for the worst. A rotation doesn't have to kick in just because altcoins are overheated. Anyway, I've rambled long enough. You get the vibe. Bitcoin's not that bad right now, and the future is still relatively rosy for Bitcoin. It doesn't matter what happens as far as tweets are concerned. I'm happy with Bitcoin all the way down to 28,000. Breaking down below 28,000 would be a big problem for me, but for the moment, I'm okay with it. That's the overview, but if you want more, come and join me tonight, and we'll talk more about whatever it is that you want to send my way to look at. Anyway, have a nice day. You take it easy.